Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Julio Capó, and let's queer up the USA view. Utah teacher shares creative resistance to anti-LGBTQ law. In Utah, as a new law banning LGBTQ flags in schools takes effect, one teacher is speaking out and reminding us that queer support finds a way. John Arthur, a teacher in Utah, shared a powerful story on Threads describing how he's supported queer students over the years, even when the law tried to silence him.
Hey friends, this Wednesday, Utah will become the first state to ban pride flags in all schools and government buildings. But before it does, I'd like to tell you a story. When I was named Utah's Teacher of the Year in 2021, people started noticing in pictures that I always carry a lot of pens in my pocket. Well, way back in my first year of teaching, I was reading The Wizard of Oz in class, and the words gay and queer came up in the book. Some students started laughing, and I was about to say something when my principal, who was observing in the room at the time, shook her head no. After the lesson, she told me that there was a law that prohibited me from discussing anything that had to do with gay or queer identities in class for fear that I might be promoting an alternative lifestyle. Now, I had a student in my class who was clearly gay, and he reacted when the other kids laughed. I asked if there was anything I could do to let him know I had his back. Wear a pin, hang a flag, anything to show this kid that he had my love and support. She said, no, it's against the law. Late in the night, I realized I'm a teacher. I use pens and highlighters and markers every day. No one could give me a hard time for wearing a bunch of pens in my pocket. So I came to school the next day with a rainbowish assortment ready to go, and most people made nothing of it. But my boy knew. He looked at me and he knew I was flying a flag just for him. Thankfully, that terrible law was eventually defeated in court, but some legislators now want to take us back.
If this doesn't fix a lot of those problems, we are seeing teachers that are starting to push, pins and stickers and banners. It'll be really easy to go back next year and just make a more blanket ban on other items if we can't get this done through just the flag.
Trevor Lee, I promise, brother, you're wasting your time. Bigotry will never outpace our creativity. The only way to get rid of rainbow flags and all the rest is to make them unnecessary. When all our kids, LGBTQ youth included, get to walk into our classrooms and find themselves celebrated in the books they read, the histories they study, and the stories we tell, then teachers won't need to fly rainbow flags for them anymore. Until then, you can count on teachers continuing to lovingly fight for liberty and justice for all.
As he mentioned, that earlier law was repealed in 2017, but starting today, Utah has banned LGBTQ flags in all government buildings, including schools. Though presented as a ban on all unsanctioned flags, the intent has been clear. Rainbow flags are the target. But Arthur is a powerful reminder that even in silence, support can speak volumes. Queer News Tonight is reminded by John Arthur that teachers are the heart and inspiration of America. I love this story, and as a teacher, I have to say I understand too the kind of way that students, all of us can resonate as students, as teachers, as spaces that the way that it feels to feel acknowledged and validated in a space where you feel vulnerable and feel at risk, and that is these kind of, it's so powerful when he says like his student knew and understood. We've all been in that space where we've seen that happen. Classrooms are not only the only space that could happen at church, that can happen in any space that we get together, right? But it is a powerful and necessary space and a necessary moment and gesture to say, like, you are welcome here too. And to me, I just read the story as one of resilience, of queer resilience, the ways that we find when we are silenced, we only get louder, and we find new ways to share our stories and to make sure that we are felt. That we build community and make ourselves feel safe.
we reinvent how we tell our message sometimes. Sometimes the conventional way doesn't work, so we find a way around it. It's so important for that.
Yeah, I was born shortly after the earth cooled, and so I remember coded language, we in movies and television and songs and hanky codes and the way you dress and the way parts of town, we had lots of codes. We knew how to communicate. We knew how to get to each other and support each other and affirm each other. And so we got this. I mean, you make it difficult for us, but you're not going to give it. And I bristle. I just go into a blind rage when I hear it, promoting lifestyles. You can't promote. They're denying science. They're denying people's personal stories by They act like this is some gang you can join. Like, you could just join the queer club and then, and then you made a choice. First of all, that'd be a fabulous choice if you could make it. But people are sexuality is innate, and gender identity is varied. And so you're not promoting anything other than tolerance. The only thing you're promoting is don't be mean to people who are different.
Yeah.
The only thing you're promoting is life-saving people who feel like they shouldn't even exist. And so, yeah, and for all those people who think religion is the reason that, you should be, there's a little verse in the prophet Ezekiel who has a vision of God. It's in the first chapter. And the vision he has of God, he said, it's like the bow in the sky that appears after the rain. That one of the biblical images for divinity is the rainbow. And the rainbow, what is a rainbow? It's just light reflected and refracted through water droplets. It's light. People are scared of the light, but remember, you are the light.
I love that.
Like, how do I follow that?
I know.
Oh.
Ditto. What he said.
No, but I think this is a beautiful story how teachers are, literally the fabric of America. And, as I was watching that video, I was getting a little teary-eyed because I remember growing up as that little, gay boy in school and knowing that I was different, but not knowing what gay was.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back to my teachers that I had, and did they show any signs of like making sure that I was safe? And that I was thinking, like, I just went through my whole history in my mind of all the teachers that I had and all the experiences I've had, and I can literally think of a couple instances where my teachers were very inclusive and very welcoming, and I thank them, for that now, that I never realized that before. And, what a simple and creative way, with markers and pens,
right?
Just to be able to show that. I think that it is very genius. So, congratulations and kudos to you.
That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ